a modern government, they governing, they don't seem to repeal any laws these days. They just seem to write new ones that kind of give you loopholes and caveats, to the new law. And essentially what King Ahasuerus is saying to them is, you've got the power in your own hands to fix this situation. And essentially what Mordecai is going to write, and it's highlighted in verse number 11, is that even though the edict went out to destroy all the Jews on the 13th day of the month of Adar, they're going to get permission to defend themselves. They do not have to just sit back and allow themselves to be destroyed. But in verse number 11, it says, wherein the king granted the Jews, which were in every city, to gather themselves together and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, to cause to perish all the power of the people and the province, get this, that would assault them. So if anybody tried to assault them, tried to take their life, tried to kill them, he's saying you can kill them, but not only that, he's saying you can take their spoil. So just like they had permission to take your spoil, to take your house, to take your land, to take your business, he's saying if they attack you and you defend, you can take theirs. Very, very interesting turn of events here. I want to point out something. Because there's a spiritual application to this. Because what King Ahasuerus is doing, much like what God tells believers, oftentimes we as believers, we go to God and we're like, God, I got this situation. God, I want you to fix it. God, I want you to turn it around. I want you to turn this thing in my favor. Open up the windows of heaven, pour out a blessing. And what is God telling you? He's saying, you've got the power to deliver yourself. There are some things in your life that you have the power to work your own miracles. You have the power to be your own waymaker, your own deliverer. And God is sitting here saying, it says it very clearly in scripture, it says, work out your own soul salvation with fear and trembling. So there's a spiritual application to this. There is a natural application to this. God has so divinely strengthened you, blessed you, anointed you, got his spirit dwelling on the inside of you. There are some things, somebody needs to hear this, because there's some things that we sit back and we idly wait for God to fix, and God is saying, you fix it. You've got the power to do it. So what happens? Because because our lesson skips, if you don't realize it, our lesson skips from Esther 3 and 8 all the way to Esther 9 and 18. And by the time you get to chapter 9, verse 18, like they're celebrating victory. And it's like, wait a minute, what happened? Because we were just talking about making an appeal to reverse the edict. So what happened? So in the latter part of Esther chapter number 8, Mordecai does, in fact, write an edict, like we just said, to defend himself. But what he does is he tells the scribes, make copy of it, and he says, send it out to all the 127 provinces. Now, this is in the third month of this 12-month, ordeal, if you will. Because remember, the first month is when the edict went out. The 12th month is when it was going to be acted on. In the third month, now another edict is going out. And the Jews have now 9 months, in a sense, to prepare to defend themselves. Very, very interesting turn of events. Gave it what the writing that is suggested there is like the best horses, the best messengers, the king's resources are being used to disseminate this edict. Everybody's hearing it in their own language, in their own native tongue, from India all the way to Ethiopia. The Jews can defend themselves. They're allowed. Okay, so in the beginning parts of Esther chapter number 9 is when the big day happens. And what you see is on the 13th day of the 12th month of Adar, the Jews that are in the city, in the main city, the city of Shushan, they kill some 500 men. 500 men, and the 10 sons of Haman are really in that number. Not only that, Esther goes to the king and says, give us a second day. Let us use the 13th and the 14th to destroy those who are trying to destroy us. So then another 300 in the city of Shushan are destroyed on the 14th day. Not only that, you have fighting that is going on in the city of Shushan, but you have an even greater amount of fighting that is happening in what scripture says in the unwalled villages and unwalled cities. This is out throughout the rest of the empire. and it says some 75,000 people were slain that were trying to destroy the Jews. Such an amazing, massive victory. So by the time we get to verse number 18, celebration is order, but there's some specific details to this celebration that we need to observe. So verse number 18, it says, but the Jews that were in Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof. When it says they assembled, it means that they assembled to fight. They fought on 2 days. And then it says, and on the 15th of the same, they rested. So 2 days of fighting, 1 day of rest. It says, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Verse number 19, it says, therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns, it says, made the 14th day of the month of Adar, day of gladness and feasting, and a good day of sending portions to one another. So all this says is that the people inside the city celebrated on 1 day. The people outside the city celebrated on a different day. So on the 14th day, when the people